Hello, everyone, and welcome to RWB Sports. Hi, this is Reginald Peoples, your host. I hope everybody has had a great weekend. I know we have. We've had an outstanding weekend. And over the weekend, we were in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, at the Wind Creek Event Center as we were able to go in with Marshall Kaufman and King's Promotions and get a better and a closer upfront look at Ring Wars 13. And in doing so, we ran into the NABF, the WBA, Intercontinental Bantamweight Female Champion of the World, ranked number one in the world right now, and I'm talking about no other than Brittany Eagleflex Sims, and she was gracious enough to let us interview her. I know it's early in the morning, but she was gracious enough to get up early in the morning to sit down and talk with us, and so let's go ahead and bring her on now. And there she is. There is the champion of the world. Hello, young lady. How are you?
I'm well, Reggie. Thank you for having me. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you for taking time out to come on the show and getting to know your fans and getting to know the people. So I know who you are. I've seen your travels. I was there when you won the titles from McKenna Tinsley. And let the folks know who don't know Eagle Flex, and it's hard for me to say that too, by the way, because I'm a Cowboys fan. You know, it's kind of hard for me to say that Eagle Flex word, but let
Well, the
people know
Cowboys
who.
almost won or made a tie last night, so I
Yeah,
watched that.
we almost came back, but
Almost came back.
yeah, that only works in horseshoes and hand grenades. So, explain to the people who Brittany Sims. Who is she? How did she get her start in boxing? Where is she from? About the sibling? Let's just talk about Brittany for a minute.
Okay, about Brittany, about me. I am originally from Columbus, Ohio. I moved to Oregon when I was about 2010. So I
Okay.
spent a great chunk of time of my life in Columbus, Ohio. I went to high school out there, a little bit of college out there, and my parents decided, hey, we're gonna move to Oregon. My dad was getting heavily recruited by the Department of Oregon Corrections. He was the administrator for religious services in Ohio, and he was went to do the same thing in Oregon. So I didn't want to be left alone in Ohio, so I decided to go out there, and that's really where the start of my fight career began. I've always been an athlete all my life. I went from playing soccer, running track, playing basketball. I was actually a big track athlete. Ran the 400 hurdles, went to national track meets, running the 400 hurdles, running the relays. So transitioning into boxing was and MMA was just kind of it was my niche. It
Right.
was something that inside out everybody knew I was. If you ask the people I went to high school with, everybody knew I was, and it was just there for me. I started off going to a boxing gym, so I learned the basics of boxing with my first coach. His name was Mickey. Mark Grossman was his name. But I started off there, learned the basics of boxing, and my sister actually got me into MMA. Her and I both were MMA fighters. She actually
Okay.
holds the record in Oregon for the fastest knockout in the
Wow.
yeah. It was impressive. But she got me into that, and there was a time where before I was transitioning into becoming a pro for MMA, my my coach was getting calls from big promotions, and I said, kind of, yeah, I told him to wait because I didn't I had ground game. I had pretty good stand up skills, but it wasn't enough for me. I didn't want to get lost in the crowd of women all within that transition into MMA. So I
Right.
decided to go into boxing. I'm going to do boxing for a little bit. And
Okay.
once I got into amateur boxing, I never really went back to MMA. I
Okay.
I ended up my first boxing fight was at the Oregon Golden Gloves. I got beat pretty bad, but came back the next year, won the Oregon Golden Gloves, won the Oregon Golden Girl, went and won the national Golden Gloves and the Ringside World Championships. So and then I transitioned into the pro ranks, and
Okay.
the rest is kind of history. My first pro fight was MMA. So I have two MMA fights. I'm 2-0 as an MMA fighter, but
Okay.
I fully transitioned into boxing.
Into boxing. Okay. Now, between the two sports, I know you say you was transitioning into MMA, and then you were transitioning into boxing. What What makes those two sports incredibly different? I know that there's a difference in the ground game in MMA, but both of them are full contact sports. What made you choose boxing over MMA?
The the poetry, the science of
Okay.
it. Boxing has been around for quite a long time.
Hmm.
There's history about it, and I remember studying boxing. I love to research and I love to study.
Okay.
Um, I learned when I started getting really focusing in on boxing. That's when I really started to study boxing,
Okay.
studying the fighters, from Jack Dempsey to Marvin Hagler. Those some of my favorite fighters.
Right.
Joe Lewis. I those are the people that I studied.
Okay.
In doing so, I saw the different styles that each boxer has, and so in MMA, it's still kind of a new sport, and it's now becoming. But when I was getting into boxing and choosing between boxing and MMA didn't really have the styles. You couldn't, like, there was different styles, but there wasn't really a label to the styles.
Right.
Whereas boxing, you have your boxer puncher, you have a boxer, you have all these different styles that people have, but
Right.
then in that style there's subcategories of styles. So with Triple G, he's a kind of a pressure type fighter, but then you
Correct.
also have a pressure type fighter of Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. And he's
Right.
it's all these different styles that they have. So if I'm just looking at a boxing fight and I see how a fighter is punched, I'm like, oh, that's Triple G, or oh, that's Javante Tank Davis, or I know,
Right.
yeah, I know that style, so that's what I like, and that's what I feel like I'm developing myself, is the style.
Into the style. No, let
Hmm.
me ask you this. In styles, and I know every fighter. I used to box myself many years ago, and the fighters that we had growing up, and the fighters that I won't say that we emulated, but we did pick and choose. You know, different parts of their strategy or different parts of their regiment. Do you have any certain fighters, male or female, that you pull from that you try to emulate to create your own style? It's like a collage of different fighters.
Yes, actually, there was a few. There was Mike Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez, Roberto Duran, and Marvin Hagler.
Okay. Now, all of those fighters that you just named, they are very heavy hitters.
Hmm.
They're very heavy hitters, and most of their explosiveness comes from their lower body. It comes from their legs, because in all of those fighters, they wasn't very big, but they were very explosive. And speaking of that, in watching you in your career, I can see why you would choose those fighters, because just looking at you and your clothes and everything, people would be like, okay, she's a very muscular woman. She's got a very sharp physique. But then when they actually see you in the ring and they see the size of your calves and the size of your legs, then they realize where the power comes from. It
Yeah.
was I was Yes, and it all comes from your legs. And we was walking and watching the fight Friday night when you were in there with a champion. Come to think of it, Nancy. What was her name?
Nessie
Nancy
Franco.
Franco. Yeah, a former champion, and the display of skill and power that you displayed made her seem like as though she has never stepped in the ring before. Now, does that have to do with, you know, how you approach each individual fight?
I think well, yeah, and I do think it has a lot to do with the development that I've gained
Right,
from being in the Team Combat League, as well as from being with the new training camp and the new gym that I'm in, with Coach Indio Rodriguez, Indio's boxing gym, and
yes,
and kind of my stable mates that are in there. You know, there's Jonathan Rodriguez. He has
yes.
basically the same belts as me, the WBC silver bantamweight belt and the WBA continental uh,
Uh-huh,
continent
yes.
intercontinental belt. We have Tanjay Teasley. You know, he just
Hmm.
had a huge fight, and he displayed a, a a performance that was similar to mine. You know, we use the footwork, we use the jab. You know, so you
Right.
see those similarities. We also have Helmad Alakusai, the Savage Prince. He's the WBC middleweight champion.
Uh-huh.
I believe 140. He's
Okay.
also in there. So and then we have up and coming amateurs. There's Jamil Riviera, and there's
Hmm.
also Angel Rosario. Both are. And Angel Rosario was is a big sparring partner to Jonathan. So
Right.
there's a huge amount of talent within that gym,
Right.
and I feel that being around, iron sharpens iron. Being around people
Correct.
who have similar views or similar goals as I do, it
Right.
helps us all at different levels, but we're moving at the kind of the same pace.
Right, right, and I love Indio. See, he's like family to me, and I try
Yeah.
to go out there and interview those guys, as much as I can to try to get them, out there and get them known. But they're making a mark in the sport of boxing on their own.
Mm,
With, like you said, with the stable mates that you have no other choice but to be great.
right.
Like I said, and they continue to work hard and they continue to, like you say, iron sharpens iron. And you keep on, because there's another gym in Philadelphia. There's Boots Enos and Shay,
Mm,
and Cool Boy Steph, who just won the WBA interim 2 weekends ago on the Canelo
mhm.
card. All of them work out of that same gym. So there's several gyms here on the East Coast in the Philadelphia area that is producing great champions, and I see you falling in that same category as being a great champion.
Thank you.
Um, in women's boxing, it's a little more difficult because it's tougher to find women in the weight class that you fight in. So, how has that been? How has that affected your journey in reaching the goals that you want to reach? As far as finding competition.
Well, I think for me, the transition from moving from Oregon to, the Pennsylvania was was um was big for me. I
Right.
needed that move, because especially being out there, I would try to get on different cards. I tried to get on a few cards. Roy Jones Jr.
Hmm.
Has a promotion out there,
Hmm.
and I wasn't able to get on those cards because there wasn't uh, women available for me
Right. Right.
to fight on the card. So and then on top of that, I started off at 125,
Okay.
and I had to move down to 118 to to get noticed. Or so now
Right.
I'm a bantamweight, and I'll fully accept that role as being a
Right.
bantamweight. I think as women, I mean, obviously boxing is getting more popular where there's more women in different division, but
Right.
you for me, I feel that as a woman in boxing, I had to be available to fight from bantamweight on up to featherweight.
Right.
So that's really how it is for me. But now that I kind of solidified myself as a bantamweight, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
bantamweight. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, now let's talk about the league that you was a part of that really didn't affect your box rec record, which is the Team Combat League. Let's talk about that for a little bit because I know in Team Combat League it's a lot like boxing. It is boxing, but in
Hmm.
boxing you have the option to pick and choose your opponent. You know, because you want to do that to try to build the confidence of your fighter in order to carry them along and get them, you know, to the level of experience that you want them to be at. But in Team Combat League, it wasn't like that. Team Combat League, you fought whoever they put in front of you. How did that, make you step your game up? And how was your stablemates around you during the Team Combat League?
Um. Well, for first, my stablemates, there's the team that we were on, Philly Smoke. There was so much talent on that team,
Yeah.
uh, and so much confidence on that team that it helped me gain confidence myself, and it helped me see like I'm also a part of them. So going
Right.
into each fight and seeing the competition that we were up against. Now I fought a few world champ, current world champ, and two former world champions, and
Yes.
an Olympian. And during that time in that combat league, I had to just kind of ignore the doubt because I'm on a
Okay.
team and
Right.
I want my team to win. Now remember, I'm always been an athlete.
Right.
Basketball and soccer are kind of the two sports that I played where it was team. So now
Okay.
my mind going in the combat league, now my mind switched to from individual, which is boxing or running track,
Right.
individual to team. So now I'm
Right.
thinking I got to go in here and help my team. I don't care who's in front of me. I want to win. I want my
Right.
team to win. So
Right.
that's how my mind switched. So going against these big names, it didn't really matter to me.
It didn't even phase you. It was just
Didn't
like
even phase
a,
me.
a team competition and
Yeah.
going in. It's like you're the link in the chain that's going to help your team win.
Right.
Right. Okay. And that's a good idea because a lot of people they still haven't heard of or caught on to Team Combat League yet. They will have season 3 coming up here pretty soon. Now, depending on where you are and the status that you are in your professional boxing career, are you going to revisit season 3 of Team Combat League?
Um Now Team Combat League was a great experience. It was a great experience. It was great to learn and
Mm-hmm.
develop in my boxing. But that's something that I'll probably have to talk with my promoter Marshall Kaufman about, as well as my manager Trifon Petrov, and my coach
Mm-hmm.
Indio Rodriguez. I have to sit down and talk with them
Okay.
about the next steps with that one.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know they'll be back. I know that you all are the reigning champions of Team Combat League. You took it from New York Attitude, who won it the previous year.
Hmm.
You all were new to the league last year. You came in, like you said, there was much talent on that team. You made a statement, and you prevailed and came out on top. Now, I know that they will probably try to break that team up. So they won't prevail again next year. But what can we see in the near future for Brittany? Eagle Flex. I'm still having trouble saying that. I just say it. I gotta come up with something else. The Eagle Flex. No, I'm just messing with you. What's next for Eagle Flex Sims?
Well, next year we're looking for some big fights.
Okay.
If not a world title fight, we are
Okay.
looking to fight some up and coming names or some big names that are within the women's boxing ranks.
Okay.
So currently, right now, I'm just looking on to continue to develop my skills and also work on a few things on the back end that will greatly help me
Right.
within my career, within my journey.
Okay. Well, good deal. Now, do you have anything set aside? Because I know there's a lot of young women out there now who are coming up into the amateur ranks. There's a young lady, uh, they call her Little Rock. She's out of Showstoppers Gym, and she's only 7 years old right now, but she's been in the gym now for 2 years.
Mm.
And this young lady, I've already told Michael Hamilton out there that I'm going to support and sponsor this young lady because if you get a chance, I would like for you to go by there and take a look at her and say hi to her and see the skill level that she has already. Because when she gets ready next year, when she turns 8 to actually step in the ring, she's going to be so far advanced than the other 8 year olds. It's not going to be funny. But I guess my question on that is are you preparing yourself for the afterlife? I guess you would say the afterlife of boxing. Are you planning on doing a gym, or do you plan on doing a camp? Do you plan on coaching? You plan on promoting? What's set up for the future after the life of boxing for Brittany?
Well, that's something my dad would always tell me. So I've prepared. I've been preparing for the afterlife of boxing long before I started boxing. That's because I'm an athlete. So
Right.
my dad would purposefully hold me back on different opportunities, like when I was running track or playing basketball. He'd tell me, Brittany, you can be whatever you want to be, you can go wherever you want to go, but get your education first. So, so I
Right.
took that, and how aggravating that was to me. I did it because he challenged me. If you anyway,
Great.
he
Great.
challenges me, and I'm gonna do it. So I went and my I got my bachelor's of science. I went and got a master's of business administration. It's
Okay.
because I need to have something to fall back on after boxing.
Correct.
So after boxing, I do look to you know continue to stay in the boxing world,
Mm-hmm.
but I also look to use my education in some way or shape or form. I don't know. I'm open to a lot of things. I'm
Right.
very open to um you know helping within the women's boxing world, or even the boxing world itself. I'm
Right.
open to becoming a trainer. I'm open to, just doing a lot of things, but my main goal is to become a philanthropist.
Okay.
So, well, I'm going to leave it up to God. Wherever He wants me, I'll go.
There you go. There you go. And that's all we can do. Everybody has dreams. They have ambitions. But the ultimate goal is left up to God and where He wants you to be. And that's what I try to tell people all the time. They ask me, how did I get into uh, doing journalism and being a boxing fanatic? What a lot of people don't know is that I used to box myself way back in the day. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to compete with the ops that I had
Mm,
facing at the time because I came up during the era of Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, Mike Tyson.
mm,
And those guys, they were natural born athletes. I was a natural born athlete too, but I didn't have the grit and the hunger that they had. What I mainly wanted to do was what I'm doing now, which is talking about it, training, supporting, managing fighters, because I knew I loved the sport of boxing. I loved it. But in order to be able to talk about it or to be able to train anyone, I had to first put myself in that element.
Right.
So yes, I went in there and got beat up. Got beat up a lot, but that's the only way that I was going to learn the sport. I see you in the future, especially for the future of women boxing, being a huge spokesperson for women's boxing. You have a lot of people out there that had big names and came through and came up in the sport of women's boxing, like Layla Ali. You
Mm.
had George Foreman's daughter. You had
There was Ann Wolf.
yeah, you had Ann
Hmm.
Wolf. You had Christy Martin, who I feel is the godmother of boxing. She
Yeah.
is the first big name female fighter in the sport of boxing. But only one that I actually see really still trying to do something with the sport of boxing is Christy Martin.
Yeah.
A lot of the other big names, they came in and they basically got, except Ann Wolf, they basically got, their hype and their fame from, their fathers who came before them. Um, and so they had no other choice but to, live up to that name. But Christy Martin started from nothing, developed into everything, and put women's boxing on the face of the map.
Hmm.
And I can see you doing the same thing, except expanding it a little bit more, being a spokeswoman for boxing, making your way into Boxing Hall of Fame, and doing great things in the sport of boxing. I had an opportunity to talk to your mom and dad the other day at the Wind Creek Casino,
Hmm.
and I told them, just like I tell you, they did an excellent job with their daughter. Uh, with one of their daughters, because I just found out that you had a sister
Yes.
that did an excellent job. And, we look for big things coming from Brittany Sims. I'm definitely looking forward to 2025, seeing what you have. I'm on my way here momentarily to talk to your promoter, Marshall Kaufman, and see what they have going on coming up in 2025. Um, and just I'm ecstatic about what's in store for you. I
Thank
really
you.
am. I really am. So if you want to thank anyone, or especially your mom and dad, thank them for uh, understanding that you are an athlete and there's things that you want to do and get into, which is boxing. I don't know if I could let my daughter box. I just don't know if I could do that. But I'm not in the situation. I had two boys, so but let's take it out. Let's see what let's take it out and see and thank everybody, talk to everybody, and see what you got. I'm gonna let you take the show out. I'm gonna shut up now.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I have to. I am a follower of Jesus Christ, so I got to thank him. Got to thank him because since moving out here, I've gone through some ups and some downs, some trials, tribulations, and it wasn't but the grace of God and the strength that I was given by him to make it to today. You know, so that's my first, and then I want to thank my parents. I want to thank my brother and sister. I have a brother and an older brother and an older sister. I want to thank them for um, my family for their support that they've given me to be out here. And there was one time I was talking to my sister. I said I wanted to go back to Oregon because my nieces and nephews are growing up. Everybody's kind of moving on, and she told me to stay where I'm at because there's nothing. I would be miserable if I went back to Oregon and not finish. I need to finish what I started. Um, I want to thank my friends in this the group of people that I have in the Pacific Northwest. I miss them dearly, and I know that they miss me too. And the ones that still message me, I do want to thank them for all that they have supported me with. Uh, thank you to all the coaches and trainers that I had in Oregon. Regardless of how things were. I do appreciate them and the experiences that they've given me. I also want to thank my promoter, Marshall Kaufman. He's he's been on the team, and I appreciate him for you know just what he's done for me in my career. There's also James Bartley and his wife V Bartley. They've went since moving out to Pennsylvania. They took me in and helped me out. I think Indio and his wife Carmen, they've also accepted me. And I have, my aunts that I've developed. There's people that I've come out here with. They've they've like accepted me as their family and also me them. So there's so many people that I want to thank, and I can't thank them individually due to the amount of time, but I hope that they know that I appreciate them.
Right. And I have a feeling they do. Everybody that you named off has
Oh,
had
and
a
Coach
really
Bob.
close,
I'm sorry, Coach Bob.
okay, has had a really close bond in your career and getting you where you want to be. Getting you, I remember going down to Fort Worth, Texas, and watching you fight for the first time as they set up the title bout between you and McKinney. After you won the fight down there, I remember the presentation inside the ring talking about the title fight coming up back here in Pennsylvania. Then you come in here and taking the title, and it's just been uphill from there. It's going to continue to go uphill for you, for one, because you have that strong belief in God that's going to take you to a much higher plateau than you would ever thought imagine just by trying to do it on your own. And with that said, RWB Sports, we do have a magazine that we're doing, and I would like for you to be a part of that in volume two of RWB Sports Magazine, and we're going to sit down and talk to you about your championship journey that you've had with your promoter, Marshall Kaufman, and Indios at the new camp out there at Indios Gym. And we're going to try to put you in some RWB Sports apparel and fight gear. We do have that, and I will be getting it out to you. I may run it out to you. Are you going to be at the gym tomorrow?
I will be at the gym tomorrow. Yes.
Okay. So what I may end up doing is I may end up riding out there tomorrow and bringing some boxing gear out there to you, so you can try out and sit down and talk to you about the magazine. But I want to thank you for taking time out this morning out of your busy day and coming and talking to us at RWB Sports. It's been a pleasure of mine. Keep up the great work. I look forward to 2025. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the team, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally thank you. You were the first person to interview me,
Right?
especially when we were in Fort Worth, and they interviewed me when I first got to Reading.
Yes. Uh huh.
So I mean, I appreciate you, Reggie, for real. Thank
Well,
you.
you're more than welcome. Like I said, I like kind-hearted people, and you're one of those people that they just stand out amongst the rest.
Thank you.
There's something different about you. That's why I know that you're going to be a champion one day.
Thank you. I
All right.
appreciate that.
Well, thanks once again. I want to go ahead and sign off and let everybody know that this is Reginald Peoples with RWB Sports, and we got to sit down with the WBA and the NABF Bantamweight Intercontinental Champion of the World, Brittany Eagle Flex Sims. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the turn.
All right.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.